Hey everybody, this is Brent in Central Arkansas. What you see before you is the breeding of a hybrid I'm calling Ferosh Delicat. I don't know if it's going to stay a hybrid or if I'm going to bring it to open pollinated. In other words, these three fruits right here are the children of these two fruits right here. This is Madison's cross, a yellow straight neck of my breeding. Started that in 2014, I think, and I brought it to open pollinated. And this is a Delicata squash. Delicata, it's I think it's Cornell bush. Anyway, I crossed those two and it created a baby that looks like these. I'm going to do a more in-depth video on everything about the plants when it first started and how they developed and all that. But this one is about the fruit itself. The weird thing about this particular one is that the fruit here are slightly different, and these two right here make sense as a in-between to those two parents. This one, however, isn't. This one kind of went rounded, more like a kind of a pumpkin-like acorn. It's not, acorns are more dented in up the top and not round. Although I think Johnny's has one called Jester that's sort of like this one, but it's more football shaped. Anyway, I don't know why this particular one is like this. Now, these two, the later fruit on this particular plant that made this more roundish one has immature fruit still that's being produced that are shaped like this. So I don't know if this is just a single oddity or what have you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh these, and we'll get a weight of each one, and we'll get a weight of the overall fruit. I'm not going to cut them open today for this video because I need to let them mature. But a couple things I've noticed. One is, if you've ever taken mature squash to save seed from, you'll notice a lot of times when you cut it, it produces a sap. And this sap, you see some wetness there, I'm tasting it, is very, very sweet. Very sweet. Similar to the Delicata, which is also kind of wet. That'll dry up, but it'll leak for a little while. The Madison's cross is already dried up completely, so it's not leaking anything. But anyway, I'm hopeful that the two crosses will bring a unique kind of Delicata-like squash that can be eaten both as a summer squash and a winter squash. I'll give you a sneak comment about the upcoming video on it. The immature fruit that are shaped similar to this, not quite as colorful, but is outstanding as a summer squash. So I'm hoping that, man, I'm still looking the sugars that are coming off of this. I feel it on it while I'm touching it. But anyway, the immature squash are phenomenally tasting summer squash. And I have eaten a lot of quote-unquote winter squash as a summer squash, and they all stink. Every one of them. Butternut stinks, Tromboncino stinks, Tahitian melon squash stinks. I haven't found a winter squash. Luckily, I haven't tried the Delicata. Delicata doesn't produce enough, really, in my mind, to harvest it regularly as a summer squash. But I haven't tried the Delicata. I'm not sure why. Anyway, these immature taste amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a weight on these. I anticipate that these are going to be heavier than both the parents because they look heavier. So let's do that. And if you can't see, I'll mention it. It is set in ounces. We'll just do ounces. Delicata is 13.4 ounces. Madison's cross is 26.3 ounces. That's like twice as much as this one. The Ferosh Delicat rounded one. Whoa. Wow. 40.9 ounces. That's significantly bigger. And you kind of get that sometimes when you have a hybrid. You get hybrid vigor, and it'll outproduce and outgrow both parents. Hybrid vigor is pretty cool. This one's a little smaller at 32.7. This one may be the granddaddy. It may be more or less than the big one there, which was 40 point something. Yeah, this is a granddaddy. It's 42.8. So a good thing I'm breeding for, that I think is a good thing anyway, is to have a Delicata that's bigger. These things are too small for my taste. They're good, they taste great, but when you cut them in half, there's so much seeds in it that you scoop out that the amount of flesh for the squash itself is not really worth it. So I'm hoping, which I won't be able to find out for a while, is that these will have a smaller seed cavity like Madison's cross does, with a lot more flesh and a bigger size that tastes almost as good or as good as the Delicata. Now, I don't mind if it has like a sweet potato like taste, which is what I often hear about sea peppos, which are the summer squash type squash. Like Delicata is one of the few winter squashes that's a sea peppo. Most winter squashes like butternut and other types of winter squash are either Maxima or Machada. And so a sea peppo would be awesome. It's the most common of the species of squash. So I would like to be able to do that. Also, what I'm hoping is that they're really, really hard. This one, well, let's see, all three of them are really, really hard skinned. I'm hoping that it'll have quite a bit more storage length than the Delicata, which is known to only last a month or two before it starts going bad. So one of these, if not two of these, I'll have to carry out for a couple of reasons. One, to see its long storage capability, and because winter squash is known to get sweeter with age, a lot of times because the carbohydrates turn into sugars, and they also soften the flesh, a dry, softer, creamier type flesh. So all that's to be known still, but in the meantime, the three children of these two squashes are definitely quite a bit bigger, almost twice, 3 times more than this one, and almost twice as much as this one, if I remember the numbers correctly. So this is Brent, you guys, just kind of a heads up of what's going on with Ferosh Delicat. I've harvested everything that I'm going to harvest for seed and testing. The rest I'm just eating as summer squash.
How long do we gotta stay here for people we don't know in one lines? All of the clothes are designer, fast cars and who knows who. Yeah, I know what they wanna say. They're gonna ask me if I'm gonna make it. I don't care if I'm gonna have to fake it, long as I can be real